Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl B Slack. In today's video, I will be having Andre here on a discussion. This is my friend Andre. I knew my freshman year in college, and so I reached out to him recently because I wanted to do this video to gain more understanding for myself. Andre, if you want to introduce yourself and where are you from and where you at right now?
Yeah, my name's Andre Williams. I'm living in Tennessee right now, but I used to live in Indiana. Uh, Me and Britt met in my freshman year, and so it's really exciting seeing her do all these amazing things. So I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Some of my goals for this video is learning how to love those, showing God's love who you may disagree with, finding God's voice in your voice in the things you may lack understanding in, and also challenge your thinking. Allow yourself to just learn. Is the word gay appropriate to refer to you as?
Absolutely. For me, I think it's fine for you to call me gay, especially if you know that's how I identify. I think that's the important part. Like, make sure before you call somebody gay, you know that that's how they identify. But for me, it's just like how some people call you, are afraid to call Black people Black.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just call me gay. You know I'm gay. It's fine for you to call me that. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I was like, sometimes I didn't know, and I'd be fearful because I know it has that bad connotation that people try to use it to offend those, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to be that person. So it's just like, I need to make sure, like you said, do you
Yeah.
identify first before calling you that? How does being gay influence your faith?
Yeah. I think it really made me develop my own relationship with God. Um, I know I hear a lot of people talk about like religion versus spirituality. And for me, I had to develop my own spirituality outside of the church.
Right.
Um, the experiences that I had in the church, some of them were kind of negative. And so I had to find my own way to worship and to develop my relationship with God. So that's kind of how it influenced me. I'm sure other people have like all kinds of different stories. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned like how your experience of finding God for yourself, like really developing that relationship. I think that's really important. Even if you
Yeah.
weren't to be gay or not, like really finding a relationship with God by yourself, because you can have your view to be clouded by so many opinions and so many different things. So I think like reading the word for yourself and finding what's truth and finding his voice and what did he say about you and his love for you so that it won't be tainted by the world. What would be your words to leave with those conflicted about their faith in being gay?
Yeah. Um, I think the most important thing is don't let anyone determine your relationship with God. You have the right to develop that relationship. You get to figure out what those terms are for you. And if anyone else is trying to tell you what is right and what is wrong, or tell you or judge you based on what they think is right or wrong, like that's not how it should go. You have the right to say, this is my relationship with God. This is how we connect. This is how we commune. And that's fine.
When you think about it, it is really not our place to be judging at all. Like that is the Holy
Yeah.
Spirit's God to convict. I can feel short sometimes in that department when it comes to if somebody don't
I
see
think
it
we
my way.
all can.
Yeah. And so just
Yeah.
let's be mindful that loving should be the biggest thing overall that we should be focused on. What was one of the hardest things to overcome when you told yourself, I identify as being gay?
I came out to a very religious family. And so that was kind of difficult for me. But I think the biggest thing was figuring out like how I identify as a gay man, as a gay Black man. And like understanding that just because I see these portrayals of gay men on TV or in movies, like that doesn't mean that's who I have to be.
Yeah.
Um, it's nothing wrong with those portrayals. Like for some people, they are true, and those they like express them. But for me, I had to see myself and like say, I may not identify with those things, but that doesn't make me any less gay or
Yeah.
any less like of a Black man.
Yeah,
So
being Black is the extra layer to being gay, of being judged by the world. And I think that's a whole nother ball game when it comes to dealing with what is like the negative impacts when it comes to people, wanting to project their anger or project any hard feelings or beliefs onto you. What is your response to a friend or a family member who is undecided about attending your wedding because of their faith, and how would that affect you?
yeah, dang, Britt, that's a good question.
No, somebody asked me this, and I was like, "Why did they ask me?" But I'm glad they did ask me because it exposed like gray areas that I do not like seek. Where is God in those gray areas?
If we just go like off the bases and we're like, if we flipped the situation, if I said like, you're getting married and your gay friend like doesn't support straight marriages or whatever, I don't know, and you ask them to come to their wedding, like, would you be upset if they didn't? Like, how would you feel? If you feel that that is something, or if that is a value that is super important to you, and it's something that you can't do, first, I don't want you to come to my wedding if you don't want to be there. Honestly, I'm just saying. But like,
Real.
if that is a huge value to you, like I don't want you to compromise your values. Like I want you to really stand in those. But I think you have to understand that that value goes against who I am. And so we probably need to reevaluate our friendship, our relationship, whatever that is, and figure out that.
I think here's where I am on it. It's like I know I want to go, but
Yeah.
I guess it's just like, am I wrong for wanting to go? So that's why, like, because I know about like what it may say about being gay or something in the Bible. So like, I don't know if I'm gonna be wrong, like for doing that. Like, God gonna hold that over my head? Is He going to go to the wedding too? Like, where are we at, Jesus? Like,
yeah, that's what you gotta ask yourself.
The answer
is, would Jesus show up to the wedding?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can honestly say, nah, I don't think He would, then don't go. Like, I mean, understand that's gonna affect.
I can't really see God say no, but I don't know to say yes. So that's why I'm like, what is it? But it's just like I really don't see God saying He's not gonna be there because of the love factor.
How I think about it is like, if there were two people who were getting married that did not believe in God at all, not like, I mean, not even a little bit, would God still go to their wedding? And for me, the answer is yes. Like, God still loves us regardless of whether we love Him or we show Him that love. So if He can go to that wedding, why can't He go to one with me and my partner?
Hey, you just put that in perspective for me. Okay?
I'm just saying.
I just dropped the mic. I know.
But I mean,
see, I need you to paint the picture like you just did, so I can be on the right track. But now, like, I feel like I'm gonna go to the wedding and feel no wrong, because God would, if God truly, even if let's say if it was wrong, if God knew that I did not know it was wrong, He's not gonna be upset. Like, I don't see Him being upset because He will hold you accountable for the things you do know.
Even if He does know, like, if is He gonna shut you out for that one thing?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So that's what I want us to think about. Like, even if your perception of God is like, man, like, I'm gonna be sinning. If you are asking for forgiveness for your sins, like, if you really feel bad, you really like, man, this goes against everything, do not go. I'm not telling you to go. That's not what you think you should do.
Yeah.
But if you are conflicted, think about what God would do and do what you think is the best. Yeah. That's all we can do.
Where and how do people or churches fail to love those who may not live according to the word for that area? How does the church fail you? Let's be specific with it.
I think for me, like, I saw how the church talked about people like who were gay or who were of the LGBTQ community, and that affected me. I think the biggest thing for me was the judging that I saw of other people who were believers, but who just lived different lives. Um,
Mhm.
I was fortunate to have like the 2-parent household, um, and like some of the people that I know didn't have that, or didn't have the kind of clean cut kind of life that I had, which is fine. But they were being judged at some of the churches that I went to because of those things, and I think that was something that like really made me reevaluate my relationship with the church. Because if we want to allow people to really be in the presence of God, no matter where they come from, we got to do that.
Yeah.
And if we're not willing to do that, we really need to reevaluate like what we stand for as a church. So
Mhm.
yeah,
That's really good. And I know a lot of people do have that I come across with every now and then have this church hurt that they're dealing with. I sympathize with those who do have the church hurt because these are some real things that the church do. And I think we try to turn our head from it and say, no, that's not true. You know, we're a church. That's what we're about, God and stuff like that. But I think we're afraid to evaluate what's sometimes wrong about it. But if we never know what's wrong, how will we continue to, exercise
yeah,
just drawing near to God's heart, gaining the thing, or just gaining more followers in Christ? Like, how are we able to do these things if we're not able to really look at reality and see what we're going wrong in and to correct those things? And so I think it's
yeah,
like everybody needs to do their part within the church to just know, like, hey, this is not right. I don't stand for that. And let's talk about it. That doesn't mean we have to necessarily cut off, but let's talk about it. I know that you've mentioned that you don't necessarily do church, within the four walls. So, like, what does it look like to be connected with other believers and be held accountable by another believer? What is that like for you?
yeah, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, I typically like have conversations with my best friend, who like lives in Texas, so we'll get on FaceTime, and we're in similar places on our walk, and
Mm-hmm.
so we will basically give testimony, talking to each other. We'll we'll talk about all of the things that are going on with us, and like she will tell me about her walk, and I'll talk about mine, and it's our own form of worshiping.
Mm-hmm.
And it when I talk about church, usually it doesn't like fill me as much as I would like it to. And
Yeah.
so when I have those conversations with her, like I leave that conversation feeling like I've refilled myself, like
Mm-hmm.
I've refilled my soul. Um, and so that is kind of like what I do to worship. That's what keeps me grounded and keeps
Yeah.
me connected to God. Of course, I have to like find my own path and my own like rituals that I do. Like I pray and I sit down and I journal and I
Mm-hmm.
do those things. But when it when I'm worshiping with her, it feels it feels real, I guess.
Hmm. My last question to just conclude this conversation is, how do I love and support you for being gay? Like, what does that look like for me to show up as a friend in your life?
I think just having these kind of conversations like we're having, and it's really different for everyone. But for me, when you ask me questions, authentic questions, you come to me and you really want to know, like, I'm confused, I'm conflicted, I don't know what to do in this situation. What do you think? That's where we can have that dialogue. We can have that conversation and figure out, like, what do you think is best for you? For other people, it could be like standing up for them in front of family when they're saying something wild. Like we all have family members that say stuff, and you'd be like, "Now, why would you say, you know?" And so maybe it just means like standing up to some of those family members or having their back when they say something to family
Mm-hmm.
members. Um, I mean, it looks like a ton of different things, but I think asking that person is the most important part. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just made me think of something experience, but looking back at my younger self, one thing I did wish I would have done was being able to speak up when I did see something that I didn't like to
Mhm.
another family member in front of their face, being able to do it in front of both family members so that they can see that I have your back and I'm able to see what is right. And so that
Yeah.
you can see that while I'm also not trying to be disrespectful, but correct those who are wrong. And so I think that's something where I have seen a growth in myself, is just being able to stand and not, stand behind closed
Yeah.
doors, but stand, in the public eye as well. So I think that's really important. I'm glad that you mentioned there's different ways of what that looks like, but asking questions is a big one. So thank you,
Yeah.
Andre, for having this conversation. We would love to see you maybe in another video, who knows? But thank you so much for tuning in this video, and I pray that you guys are blessed by this video and that you tune into more videos from your girl B Slack. Bye.